Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moonride. This is Dave Johnson, your psychic, channeling, shaman, hypnotist, and today we're going to take a look at those drones. So there was a couple of drones over the Kremlin, and it looks kind of suspicious. The Putin sometimes has these sort of false flags, but let's see if it's a false flag this time around, and if there are going to be consequences. Pardon me. I am taking a look at this building, the Kremlin, and I can see these. I saw it. It didn't look like that, main Kremlin church building. It was nearby. You could see a couple of flashes and burns. Again, usually Putin doesn't put that out there. If that's the truth that they're non-invincible, he doesn't usually put that out there, which is what's making me suspicious. But I'm seeing a sneaky Putin. I'm seeing him kind of chuckling and going, aha, you guys think this is real. There's a couple of reasons why we wouldn't think so. One of which is he wouldn't advertise it if it were real penetration of their air defenses. Yeah, it is a little bit worrisome because he did do it in order to sort of make, from what I'm seeing, to make Ukraine look bad, and it's made more for the Russian people than the world at large. It's the Russian people he's trying to affect and make put on his side and feel defensive. And he's literally like this, like I've done that before. It's not hard, piece of cake. So Spirit will have the result he wants, Putin wants. It doesn't seem like it's helping him much with the Russian people. I actually see him with like laser eyes, and his laser eyes are like, he's like, Godzilla or something, like burning like a hole in the countryside. He seemed like this destructive force. And remember, this is a question about will it work? So I don't know how many people are believing this. Anybody at the top, anybody, general on up, they know how this takes place. They know that Putin, faked it. How could they not know? They manage the air defense systems too. And it's a little hard to believe that they would attempt to fly a drone all the way into, Moscow. What's the point? There's lots of places that are closer. So they know, and they're suspicious, and they're just looking askance, like, when are we going to get rid of this guy? How can we get rid of this guy? It actually looks a little bit desperate. It worked before, though. I mean, Putin has destroyed buildings before, and it effectively worked. But that was it worked to rally. It was a fake false flag event, but it worked to rally people around him. But that's different. Now there's a draft on them, and the people who are subject to the draft, their parents, everybody around is getting upset. They're getting nervous. They're wondering how far this is going to go. So I'm getting like an image of the average Russian person. I'm seeing like a young Russian woman. She seems very tearful and upset. Um, she's telling me, look, my partner's gonna leave. He's gonna go to this war. I don't know how I'm gonna feed my kid. Yeah, I'll get some money, but what if he's killed? What if the governments change and the wives of soldiers don't get any money anymore? This is Russia. Things change so much and dramatically. How am I going to feed these kids? Not to mention, I love this man who's my husband. I married him for a reason, and so that's sort of a next level issue. Is just this is the regular person who is receiving texts from their spouse at the war front. They're giving really horrible messages about what's going on. This is the rub, you guys. This is what I'm starting to feel over and over again is going to be the real problem for Putin. It's the soldiers in Ukraine. They are the ones that are experiencing, really horrible conditions, lousy food that's really old and inedible. It's like some of them are just getting sick from the food they've been provided by their own, corrupt system of food dispensation. He's writing messages back. This is like not the kind of thing that Putin can't read every text, but as they're saying that he's sending these frantic texts like I'm so upset as a soldier here. I got to talk to someone. And there's this poor young woman with this baby, and she's reading this and she's worried. She's just worried about her husband. He's hard to, she feels like she's got to read this stuff, but it's really hard to read. There's nothing she can do. Everything is negative regarding their own government. The soldier doesn't know why they are there. Imagine, if American soldiers in Iraq, they were sending some of these messages home, and they at least had a more optimistic window out of there. I mean, it certainly wasn't a cakewalk, but there's a time when they would eventually go home. Maybe it was 4 years, but they could eventually go home. These Russian guys are ill-fed, and there's not that much that they can anticipate. They don't know if they're going to be used just as cannon fodder and nothing more. Because they all heard those stories of Russia from their grandparents about how they were essentially used as cannon fodder and people are starving. And, they're just reminded of the history of the treatment of their leaders. What else? Things don't look good again for Putin. I don't think this is working out at all well. He seems very nervous and paranoid. He seems like he's not sure at all where to go next. He's tried this ruse where it's supposed to, bring, more like manifest anger at foreign countries, but it doesn't seem like it really works. Even the generals are not that convinced. The average Russian person is not that convinced. It's the sort of place where if you have an opinion, you'll get in trouble. I've lived in cultures like that, and when you have an opinion, you get in trouble. Everybody is thinking about something, but you don't know what they're thinking about because they're not allowed to share their opinions, right? So you have to go supposing something is true, thinking these people are behind you or they'll be easily manipulated or whatever. That's not necessarily the truth. There's just this moment when everything changes. And that happened in Russia in 1917. There's just this moment where finally the troops are like, fed up. We are deserting, we're going home, and we're going to have a revolution. We've had enough of the czar. And that's always in Putin's mind. And it's like he's at a chess table and he's moving these chess pieces, and the movements didn't work. They didn't work the way that they were supposed to. Like they didn't, put the queen in check, for example. It just didn't work. He thought that right away the Ukrainians would just cave in and the whole West would just cave in. And that didn't work. Instead, the chess move didn't work. He's trying another chess move, and it's not having a great effect. He really does. I mean, this is what's worrisome. You think of this as a sort of pretext to go after Ukraine harder, and that's a good question to ask the Spirit. Is he going to do anything more dramatic with Ukraine? Any worse action? Well, certainly they are sending rockets. So I know there was just a recent very vicious rocket attack, and now he's sending them again. So I think it doesn't seem, nuclear, for example. Well, let's just ask, is it going to be nuclear? No, it could be, it feels like it's more tactical. Why are they not nuclear? Because even Putin knows that could have a really bad effect on Russia. The wind could blow into Russia and kill half the Russian population. It's right next door. The radiation fallout, and not to mention, you know, we'd really have to unite. All of Europe would have to unite against them, and it would bring it to the point of maybe they would invade Russia itself. So that's not a great prospect. It's just he has a pretext to step it up and to be more cruel and to attack the citizens. He didn't really need such a pretext, but it's the way he works is create pretext, right? That's what some leaders do. And that pretext, now that it is created, he's going to follow through on it, but he does not feel like it worked particularly well in his favor, aside from which it made Russia look a little bit vulnerable. So what else can we know about this Putin situation? It's important to know that there are people in Russia who you don't hear of who think it's wrong. I would even say within the Orthodox Church, there are people who see this as an unethical position, and they are sort of secretly harboring, dissent. This is a bad thing for Putin because it's just building and building and building and building through all sectors of society more dissent. Keep in mind, many people have kids that could be drafted into this war, and it's not just a passive thing anymore. So thanks so much for watching. Take a look at my website if you'd be interested in any kind of services like channeling or psychic work, etc. Thanks so much.